by Democrat Andrew Acosta and Republican Tamika Hamilton. So we are having a lot of developments happening as we speak. We're hearing that it sounds as if the GOP will retake the Senate. So let's go to our Democrat at the table to get your initial reactions to that developing news.
No, it's going to be a tough night for Democrats. I mean, it looks like a lot of the swing states are going to swing away from Kamala Harris, and we're going to lose the Senate. And our hope will be holding on to the House.
Let's turn to our Republican at the table. We're hearing that we may not hear from Kamala Harris tonight, but we do expect perhaps to hear from President Trump tonight. Talk to me. I know you have run here in California for office, came very close, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
Talk to me about what you feel this says, if anything, about voters' views about women at the very top of leadership, President of the United States.
Well, it gets a little bit tricky because, you know, at the end of the day, while also having run for office, I've also been in the military for 22 years. And what I go back to is just making that connection with people and being able to see people where they are. And I think that that's where we have the problem with the vice president. She wasn't able to meet people where they were, especially with the reality of where things were going. And it's hard for me to say it's an issue because she's simply a woman, but more that while she is smart and capable, she has, you know, she's won seats, obviously, but people didn't see her as the leader of this nation. But it's just really hard for me to say it's simply because of the fact that she is a woman.
And we know that she has purposely not tried to heighten that she is a female and would be the first female president as running. So can you expand on that, maybe some of the thought process, maybe with the her campaign and some of the strategic approach they might take?
Right. Well, you know, with Democrats, it's been very hard for them to navigate, again, the reality of people not being able to pay for the basics when it comes to those kitchen table issues. Then when you're talking about crime, we saw Prop 36 pass overwhelmingly. It's going to be hard for Democrats to pivot after they've been pushing trans ideology, you know, in the Trump administration, be able to use her words against her. And she not really being able to explain herself and wiggle out of those things. And so they're really going to have to look at the will of the voter, be honest about what's in front of them, and say, hey, look, we made and, you know, honestly say we made some mistakes. But I don't think that's, I want that to happen, but I don't know if that will happen.
Well, let's turn to our Democrat at the table and ask him, where do you think heads are now?
So Donald Trump has now defeated two women candidates in potentially, maybe it's not done yet, but you know he defeated Hillary Clinton, and it looks like he potentially is going to defeat Kamala Harris. I think the problem with this is less about a woman running, and it's more about the words he uses and the way he treats the women and how he, you know, be it Liz Cheney, you know, to normalize that is something that I think is not just scary, but it's sad. You know, I have two daughters, and they see this and they're appalled. You know, so what does this mean going forward? I'm not sure, but it definitely is one of those things that is the country ready? Is it Donald Trump? You know, if it was a different Republican and not Donald Trump, will we have a different result, a different conversation? Maybe he gets away with everything. He can say anything. You know, I mean, he says whatever he wants, and people say, "Oh my gosh, look what he did." He did it again, you know, the next day, and no one seems to, you know, doesn't ever affect his numbers. He ran one of the worst campaigns you possibly could run in the last 30 days, and he's still winning. So, you know,
and what does it mean for strategy, in your opinion, as far as, you know, in you mentioned the Clinton campaign, heightening, you know, a woman running, and then in this time, maybe looking at the lessons learned from that election and then pulling back on that. What does that say about strategy?
Well, you know, both these, Clinton was Clinton, and the Clinton fatigue, the Clintons, there was an issue out there. I mean, it was definitely felt where people were just, they're done with the Clintons. This, I think, it was hard for Kamala Harris because she had a short runway to get off the ground.
Let's talk about, because I've heard some conversation around this too as well, about some that suggested initially that, oh, well, maybe this is the way they ought to do campaigns all the time, like 100 days, you know what I mean? And we don't need these kind of long,
just put the pressure
drawn
on,
out,
right?
You know what I mean?
Well, some would say we need a primary, right? Because then if you can get through a primary and you can win a primary and you have to battle through a primary, it's better for the candidate versus not having a primary. Who's to say, you know, which way is better or worse? But, you know, what we're seeing is somebody, I don't want to say was anointed, but she didn't have to fight in a primary. She was basically, you are the vice president, you're going to run for president, and everyone got out of the way. And, there'll be a lot of finger pointing and sort of, if only we did this or that. I've already heard and read that people are going to say it's Biden's fault for not getting out of the race early. It's all these things, but it's a presidential race that doesn't seem to be close. So I'm not sure how this ends, in terms of how do you do it better next time.
Give you the final word on this because we do want to get you to some local results that are coming in for mayor and things of that nature.
At the end of the day, I think that, what a lot of we're seeing when it's speaking to what he said about, Donald Trump being able to get away with what he says, it's like also we have desensitized our country. And, when you see the homelessness on the street, the crime, and we're seeing, obviously that big shift. And I think that speaks to where Americans are, and they don't want to feel that way. And they want people to, again, see the reality of where they are, where things really sit. And, I think she ran a campaign, and honestly, 100 days and what she's been able to do is pretty remarkable. But, we didn't get to see we didn't get to know who she was. And then a lot of the flip-flopping and the back and forth about, where she stands on certain policies that hurt her also, very badly. So I think that, again, there's going to be a lot of finger pointing, but given the fact that the short runway, I think that's pretty remarkable in being a woman.